key elements in Genshin Impact and most other open world games is the stamina bar. The stamina bar acts as a resource that the player has to manage to traverse the world and act in combat. It's a way to encourage thinking, and it adds another level of decision making for the player. But that's not how I view it. I view stamina bars as a way for game developers to make their game less fun. So let's make the game more fun by not using stamina, because that's how that works. But before we get into the rules for this challenge, I would like to give a quick shout out to this video's sponsor, Opera GX. Opera GX is the best browser for the best kinds of people, gamers. Before I got Opera GX, I was just a third-rate gamer with a fourth-rate browser. I was a Chrome dome, and I didn't know what I was missing out on. But now, I'm an Opera head. I can watch my Bluey episodes while doing other things thanks to Opera's video pop-out feature that allows me to bring a video from one tab to another and adjust its size to fit on the screen. So you can watch your favorite anime while playing Genshin at the same time. But that's not the only thing you can customize. If you go to store.gx.me, you can look at a variety of different mods and wallpapers for you to install. And unlike in Genshin, you can download mods without worrying about getting banned. I chose the Traveler set, which comes with an animated wallpaper, keyboard sounds, and opening and closing tab sounds. But if you don't like hearing a digital sound while you're typing something, you can turn off the keyboard sounds or any of the other settings if you really want to. Now I know what you're probably asking to yourself. MistahFeet, I get that you're both incredibly attractive and funny, but I'm still nervous to try out this amazing gaming browser that you're telling me about. I'm still a bit of a Chrome dome. I don't want to lose my bookmarks and other stuff like that. Well, don't worry, fair person, because you can import your settings from Chrome and other browsers right into Opera GX. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and try Opera GX using my link in the description. Thanks again to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the rules. Here are the rules. All characters are allowed, including 5 stars. Abilities that make us move faster, like Sayu's roll, Yolan's invisible thing, and Kirara's dog car, are allowed since they do not use stamina. It shows the bar, but it doesn't use any. The third rule, we cannot do the following actions in the open world: dash, run, charge attack with weapons that are not the bow, climb, glide, swim, and swim faster. Some of you may have noticed an asterisk placed next to the word glide, and that's because we have to for certain parts of the story. I'm just gonna come out and say it. You've been clickbaited. This is actually the no stamina except for the situations where we have to glide because we don't have a Wanderer challenge. The only way around some of those parts is to have a Wanderer, which we do not have access to. But this does not mean we can glide in the open world. We can only glide in quests when we can't use an alternative method. If we accidentally use stamina in a situation that we did not need to use stamina in, so if for example I dashed in the open world, that means we do a 10 pull for every time we mess up. I have 100 pulls on my main account and my budget is $100. If we mess up more than 18 times, then I will spin the punishment wheel for every 7 times that I mess up. And the last rule, no glitches. Now that we're done with all of the rules, let's see if we can beat Genshin Impact without using stamina. We start our journey by making a tactical decision. We had to make a choice, Lumine or Ether. Oh, and if you want to be like one of these lovely people, you can follow me on twitch.tv/MistahFeet. I got the H in the username now. As for Lumine or Ether, there is actually a better option for this challenge. Speed in Genshin is actually determined by height. The taller a character is, the faster they are. And since Ether is taller than Lumine, we're gonna act like Casey in kindergarten and pick the other boy as the favorite since he's faster. After picking our starter, we make our way over to the first obstacle, the wall. This wall normally does require stamina to climb over, but if you go over to the right where it's lower and adjust the camera just a little bit, you can jump, which will cause Lumine to stick to the wall. Once she's there, just descend and you will land on top. Then we reach the second obstacle for this challenge, swimming over there, which we have to do so GG runs dead.
Tell me why I'm here.
Nah, but we can't just end it there. This is just going to be the first can't, since we do have to swim to get over there. But swimming's not going to be much of a problem in the future because soon we're going to get a character that will alleviate that problem. After getting our animo powers that we will not be using for the rest of this challenge, we teleport back to the shore and make our way over to unlock our next character, Amber, who will actually be kinda useful because of Baron Bunny. That is probably the first time that sentence has ever been said. We can't dodge in this challenge, so by having Baron Bunny distract enemies away from us, we don't have to worry about getting hit as much. We also got our first mess up this early on. Okay. Oh.
Whoops.
Next, we head inside of Mondstadt and learn how to glide, but we kinda teleport out of that situation. After a quick game of War Thunder, we head inside the Knights of Favonia's headquarters. Cutscene time. My bad, chat, my bad. While inside, we partake in a little bit of gambling, because to quote Luke Skywalker, I am a gambling addict like my father before me. A debate club? I think we're getting a Noel, guys. Oh man. And they're right next to each other. You know what we call that? We call that chemistry. The reason we pulled Noel here instead of standard banner is literally just because this gives us a guaranteed shield. To begin our journey for real this time, we go to Amber's temple. The only thing of note in this temple is that we had to glide to reach our spot. But as I stated earlier, gliding is okay in these sections because we don't have a wanderer. After Amber's temple, we head over to Kaya's temple. For Kaya's temple, we slowly make our way up to the top and use a feature that will be extremely helpful for us. Ice bridging. This is going to be our main answer for the swimming problem. Kaya was one of the most important characters for this challenge because of this, and for another reason that you will see as this challenge goes on. With Kaya's temple completed, the last main quest we need to do at this point is Lisa's temple. Aside from a couple of wanderer moments and failing the challenge at the beginning of this temple, I still can't believe that happened, we were able to complete Lisa's domain and make our way into the open world. With our newfound freedom, I knew what the first thing we needed to do was walk all the way over to China to unlock Geo Traveler. Geo Traveler is the only reason I thought to do this challenge, and it's all because of this. Geo Traveler allows us to climb without using stamina. We're going to call this mantling. So theoretically, we can mantle our way up through most parts of the game as long as we can aim our rocks and jumps properly. After an hour of grinding and making some mistakes,
Whoops.
I charged attack there, didn't I? Oh! It's the better thing to do that. Oh. I swam. Here for a while.
Whoops.
I did it again.
Whoops.
I did! Oh. Are you kidding me? Wait.
Whoops.
Oh my god. Hold up. Oh, chat, we're huge. We hit AR-10 and made some 10 pulls. Are we getting a 5-star on this? Let's find out. No, we are not. Let's get a Sayu. We're gonna get a Sayu. Huh, Chongyun. That's good, that's cryo. If we get a 5-star on this, it'll be crazy. God. After yet another hour of grinding and making mistakes.
Whoops.
Why did I do that? Why did I do that? We began the second act of Mondstadt. We chase after Venti, and thankfully this was not a timed event because there was quite literally no way I would have been able to catch up to him in time. I guess you could say he blew us away. Thank you, thank you. Please don't leave. Once we finished catching our breath, Venti tells us to meet him at the tree, which didn't take that long because we just teleported there. As we begin our conversation, we get interrupted by an Eye of the Storm, which also leads to me making another accident. But after that, we swiftly took out the Eye of the Storm and not so swiftly made our way back up to the cathedral. Once we arrived at our destination, we changed Lumine's name to Michael Jordan because I am the Michael Jordan of Genshin Impact, and if you want to see more challenges like this, you should subscribe. Haha. After that call to action, we went further inside the church to do some stealth, which took longer than I thought because I learned from chat that there were chests in here, so I tried to look for them so I could get more adventure rank, and because of my greed, I accidentally used some more stamina. No! And I used stamina! So I just decided to walk right in front of the guards to get the chest, and it doesn't even give me adventure rank, so I just wasted my time in a future 10 pull. But I still had more trouble on this part than I should have. After the guards realized they just let Michael Jordan walk right past them, we get chased out of the cathedral. As we're leaving, Venti creates wind currents for us to glide on, but we can't use them, so we have to walk over to the tavern to meet him. After that fail, we realized that Kaya was our best option because he's tall, which means he's the fastest of my characters, so I swapped to him and we still failed. For this next attempt, I swapped to Kaya early and I accidentally made a mistake. I think for this part, we just tanked the fall damage.
Whoops.
Oh, Oh, this mess up actually slowed us down instead of helping, but we were still finally able to make our way to the tavern. After that jog down, Diluc immediately asked us if we're ready to head out and do a domain. After teleporting and ice bridging to a rock with a hole in it, we reached the Fatui hideout. Upon entering, we slowly make our way across the bridge surrounded by lava and take out the rest of the Fatui enemies hiding there. Once we defeated the enemies, Hoyoverse was kind enough to put an elevator here, and we take it so we can devour the Fatui agent with Bird. Hold up, is he gonna say the voice line? Bird! Bird! Yeah, there he goes. Bird! Majoring in... I literally saw it. I could have scrolled down. I literally saw it. Following my least favorite part of Mondstadt, we make our way to the Thousand Winds Temple so we can defeat the Ruin Guard and obtain the first tier. For the next tier, we just walk up a ramp and collect it. But for the last tier is when things get sad because of this. This was another temple where we had to glide in 3 separate occasions. Just a quick little timeout. I was looking back at the footage and I thought that this section would at least be possible without using stamina. So I went into the replayable version of this domain and I was able to climb up there without using stamina. So this part is good. That's why it's not a wanderer moment. Okay, time in. Aside from those instances, we were able to do some mantling and thankfully shoot down some enemies that we would have had to climb to kill if we didn't have Amber. After we collected the final tier and completed another grinding session, we reached AR 18. We take out a Hydro Mage and walk over to Storm Terror's lair. As we prepared to take on Storm Terror, we ran into some problems, and by problems, I mean gliding sections. We have to glide to reach the center and glide in order to activate 1 pair of lock switches. 1 pair we were able to activate just fine because we didn't have to do anything but kill enemies, but for the last pair, it was pretty annoying. The problem with this last pair was that we needed to climb up this pillar and fall down into the center of this wind current. The problem is that the pillar is so narrow that we can't reliably place rocks on the side of it to mantle our way up. But then someone in chat mentioned that we could walk up there and drop down onto the pillars, which was a great idea. So we tried it, but it didn't work because the barrier was still up around Dvalin's lair. So I thought it wasn't possible and believed that this was a wanderer moment. Hello, this is me in the future. When I was looking back at this footage, I could not stop thinking about how this does look possible. So I tried it again on my main account, only using GeoTraveler and Kaya, and I was able to make it up there without using stamina. So it is possible to get this gem without using stamina. Oh, and I was also able to cross over to the center without using stamina. That's why I didn't include it as a wanderer moment. I just wasn't thinking creatively enough at that point. Alright, back to the video. With the pillars activated, it was time for us to begin the fight with Dvalin. After doing the flying mission, we were brought on land to finish our battle. Everything was going just like a normal Dvalin fight until we broke his shield. When Dvalin falls over, his weak spot becomes available to hit. The problem is that you have to climb up there to reach it, but we can't do that. So we had to use our bow characters to shoot him from the ground, which leads to the next problem. If you don't kill Dvalin here, he doesn't attack, which makes it to where when you stand on the ground, you take damage. The thing is, it doesn't do a lot of damage, so we just kind of shot him down and hit his weak spot to win the fight. Boom! Booyah, baby! After watching Venti get low-dipped by Senora, we make a single pull right before we finish Mondstadt. You ready for this? Holy, no, there's no way. Oh my god. No! Oh! Following a gruesome 8-hour and 22-minute journey so far, we have beaten Mondstadt, which means we gotta make it to AR 23 so we can start Liyue. So after a couple hours of doing story quests that don't require stamina, grinding, and of course making mistakes. Isn't this only at like AR 20?
Whoops.
Oh no. Opinion on the Mario movie? I loved it. Oh my god, he's not gonna make it out of the morning. I'm telling you guys, we started Liyue at almost 14 hours into this run. 4-star. Hold it, if we get Kirar, this is huge. Oh. The first obstacle in Liyue was actually the stealth section. I couldn't go the way I normally do because that requires stamina, and even when I did go over that way, we got caught. So after a couple of failed attempts, we started to treat it like an actual stealth mission and successfully made our way around the guards. Our next objectives were to meet up with the Adepti. The first Adepti we needed to consult with was Mooncarver. It was a long hike to reach him, but we did make our way there and defeated the guards who were trailing us. In just try to imagine how slow those guards must have been if they were trailing us of all people. Afterwards, we head over to Wangshu Inn and defeat a Ruin Hunter, who really wasn't that bad in this challenge. With Zhao done, we had 2 big mountains to climb next. We decided to go for Mountain Shaper first, but I had a strategy of how we were going to get there. So how we get there, it looks like we're gonna have to climb up from over there, make our way up there, then we should just be able to walk up there. We followed the plan we made, and it worked perfectly. Now I'll make a joke in the video saying, how tall am I? And then it'll be you guys answering he's tall. So,
Whoops.
I wasn't paying attention. We ascended to the top of the mountain, helped someone out of the amber, and told Mountain Shaper about what happened to Rex Lapis. Rex Lapis? Assassinated? At the rite of dissension? No!
Whoops.
And last, but definitely not least, was Cloud Retainer. It was a journey to get to Cloud Retainer. We had to climb up 2 mountains to get to her. This is where our dynamic duo of Geo Traveler and Kaya really started to shine. Michael Jordan's rocks plus Kaya's genetics made climbing the impossible actually possible. Once we reached the top of the mountain, we went inside of Cloud Retainer's temple and did her domain in the correct way for once. After talking to Cloud Retainer, we were finally done with Act 1 of Liyue. Insert another sped up grinding section here, and we do a single pull because a chatter asked me to. I'll do 1. 4-star. Oh, hold up. Kirara? Let's go, chat! Oh! This was huge for us for 2 reasons. Number 1, speed. We haven't been able to dash for over 16 hours at this point. But now with Kirara, we were finally able to get some semblance of speed in this challenge. And the second reason is because of her jump. Since we can't dash, we don't have access to a proper sprint jump, which makes platforming in this not platforming game a lot more difficult. But it becomes easier now with Kirara since she can jump both high and far in her little dog car. We still can't climb with her though because that does use stamina. She did also give us our first death in this run. Oh! 40 minutes after obtaining Kirara, we were able to do the AR-25 domain. Hey, it's future me again, but please don't be too upset with me because this is the last time I'll be in this video. In this domain, I did glide in these 2 sections because I thought that you had to at the time of recording. But when I looked at the footage, I noticed these areas on the bottom, and I figured that if I was able to stand on them, I should be able to make it across. So I grinded to AR-45 on my Traveler-only account just to test this out. And I can confirm that both this and the second gliding section are possible without using stamina. So when you see me glide again at this part in the AR-35 domain, just ignore it. Alright, bye. This part was not that big of a deal aside from this section. There are 2 options to get to the other side. You can either glide on the top of the pillars or swim, but we can't do either. So my goal was to jump down here and ice bridge across. What I should have done was use my burst as Kaya and fall into the water, then mantle on top of the ice and ice bridge. But as I was trying to LTG myself, the Cryo Hilichurl shot at us, which allowed us to climb up an ice bridge, which is what I wanted to do at first. So I guess for now, we'll just count this as the mess up that did not happen earlier. But TLDR, this section is possible without stamina, and I know that because I prove it later on. The last thing in this domain was A-lift, but it was not a problem for us whatsoever. And we're gonna get a 5-star on one of these pools. Do I know which one? No, but we are. With the AR-25 domain finished, we can make our way back into Liyue to continue the story. How? The door's right there. The door's right there. How? The door's right there. The first thing we had to do was heat up some rocks in the cooking pot, which went fine because we were able to do it without using stamina. Next was the teapot with Madam Ping. And aside from the gliding, this was no problem for our team. After the teapot, we head over to Chi-Chi and help her find the Coco Goat at the ballista. To get there, we had to do some more rock parkour, which leads into the next obstacle, this window. At first I thought, no problem, I can just use Kirara. But then she did this, and I kinda agreed with chat that if Kirara does this to climb over something, it doesn't count. So I just used the dynamic duo and we got in there just fine. We could've just done this. After After fighting some bandits, we went back to Liyue and had a date with Zhongli, which marks the end of Act 2. You know what's coming next. Let's go. Okay, we got a 4-star. We need an animal character. That's actually going to be useful, though. She will be useful. She will be useful for later. After about 4 hours of grinding, we were able to start the final act of Liyue. The first thing we need to do is climb Mount Tianheng, which shouldn't really be a problem. I mean, we've climbed other mountains before, so this should be pretty easy.
It wasn't.
We tried to climb up there through multiple sides, but none of them worked at all. Until I tried coming over from the south side, which had a tricky but manageable stairway that was close to the top. Oh no. But the top only brought us to the teleport and not the mountain with the Jade Chamber. And here lies the tricky part about this. We need to find a way to climb that mountain without using Geo Traveler. Why no Geo Traveler, you may ask? Because we need Anemo to activate the device leading to the Jade Chamber. And since we didn't get any other Anemo character, we have to use Anemo Traveler. This technically wasn't a run killer, but for me, it felt like one. Chat had told me to get the portable waypoint, climb the mountain with Geo, and place it there, but that would have had to take at least a week because of the reputation reward system. It felt like this run was going to have to be delayed for weeks, but for me, it honestly felt like this was going to be a dead run. But then I remembered something. Wait, chat. We might have a chance. We might have a chance. There's a very good reason I think we might have a chance. The cutscene activates very early. If you go to a certain part, the cutscene activates pretty early. If we can get that to happen, Anemo Traveler can do it. I think if we can maybe climb those branches over there, it might activate the cutscene and it'll teleport us up there. I don't know if I showcase this, but sometimes I'll just be mid climbing and it'll like teleport me up there. I don't know if that's been in a video, but we're gonna have to try and do that. And slowly but surely, we began to make our way to the top. Wait. No way! Chat! Oh! Booyah, baby! Wow! After spending 40 minutes climbing that mountain, we made our way to the top and flew over to the platform. With the scariest part of the challenge done, we took on some bandits, stole the Fatui's plans, and sang to some flowers. As we end our performance, we head over to the Golden House so we can start the first half of the climax, the child boss fight. Going into this fight, I thought it was going to be a little harder than usual, but then I pressed E for Noelle and Kirara, so this fight wasn't really a problem for us anymore. With the child fight done, it was time to fight Osile, or I should say Fatui agents, because we personally do not touch Osile. This was another example of a fight that seems like it might be difficult because we have a time limit, but once we got the Adepti buffs, this battle resulted in our victory and the end of Liyue's story. Booyah, baby! For the next section, we decided to do the Dainsleif quest first, and I'm just gonna put this chat on screen to use as foreshadowing. The Dane quest proceeded the same way that most accounts do it. We clear the temple, fight the Abyss squads, and walked almost halfway around Stormterror's lair so we can smell the footprint that the Ruin Guard left behind, which is the end of Dainsleif Part 1. But now it's time for Dainsleif 2, Electric Boogaloo. The first thing to do in this quest is a domain, but not just any domain, an edgy domain, because it has a dead person in it. After a wanderer moment, we made our way through the temple and were greeted with this. These platforms fall after you step on them, and since we can't run, we don't have much time. I failed a couple of times on this part, but eventually we were able to make our way out of this place with Kaya, making it to where those platforms will not come back. Keep that in mind. After fighting the Abyss Herald in the land of my people, we get to go back to the same domain. Yeah! Going into this domain, I had the assumption that Geo Traveler's rocks were not going to work, and that we were just gonna have to hold the L and glide over. But then I did this. Hold up, chat, do we do this? Following that statement was nothing but pain. This was the scariest part of the run by far. Mount Tianheng was nothing compared to this. We had to maneuver around branches that got in our way, bad platforming, and bubbles that would essentially kill us if we got touched. Aww. For over an hour, we tried to make our way across this gorge with our dynamic duo, and eventually we came up with a plan. If you get touched by the bubble, it doesn't respawn. So if we get rid of the bubbles that give us a problem in our path, we'll be good. The downside is that we lose health every time we fall, so that's why we included a Barbara in our team to heal us. The next part of the plan is to go down the left side and focus on placing our rocks on the bottom and slowly making our way up, since as you go higher, you encounter more branches. And slowly but surely, we began to make our way across. There's a branch right there. I don't think we make that.
Terra Smash!
Oh, fuck. We gotta hurry. Yes! Yes! The fight after this, I honestly could not tell you how it felt because I was so exhausted after going through that marathon, which marked the end of the Dainsleif quest. The Jade Chamber quest felt pretty tame in comparison to that. All we did was go through the domain, which had a swimming section. I thought I could big brain the swimming section by activating Kaya's burst before we fell, but the cutscene was so long, so the burst ran out before we even started the fall. After that domain, we did some more rock parkour and fought Based, who was made a lot easier thanks to Shinha. And that marks the end of the Jade Chamber quest. Following one last quick little grinding session without any mess-ups, we were able to start our journey in Inazuma. In order to reach Inazuma, we have to ice bridge over to the Alcor, which shouldn't be a problem because... oh no. Okay. We have to ice bridge over to the Alcor, which shouldn't be difficult because it's ice bridging. You just press E, move forward, and wait 6 seconds. After waiting for multiple 6 seconds, we made it to the side of the ship and successfully climbed to the top thanks to our rocks. Upon climbing the ship, we immediately have to leave so we can enter a tournament. We crushed our opposition, but when it came time to fight the final opponent, they realized our one weakness: speed. So they ran away from us, which means we had to pursue them. For this first part, I thought we had to use a wind glider to reach over there, but when it came to the second phase, I wasn't so sure. I recognized that the challenge showed up whenever I took the wind current, so I abandoned the challenge and just didn't take the wind current, which means that the first section might also be possible to do without the wind current. We slowly ice bridged our way across the ocean, which brought us over to catch the bandit. One anime backstory later, and we were finally able to make our way over to Inazuma.
You could show the young.
Ew! Our first objective here is to storm the beaches, which was made easier because the coast gave us access to both freeze and bloom. After climbing up Yai's mountain and talking to some NPCs, we began our invasion of the prison. It was fine until it wasn't. We came across something that should not have been as big of a problem as it was: a ladder. Yep, I'm being serious, a ladder. This game isn't like that bootleg game Tears of the Kingdom. Whenever you climb a ladder in that game, it doesn't use stamina. But in this game, climbing ladders does use stamina, which means we have to rock climb. The only problem is that it's kinda hard to do in a small place like this. I tried for about 10 minutes, then went back towards the center because there was more room to place rocks. And I figured that we could climb up there and walk to where we need to be. But when I got up there, there were only 2 things there that were waiting for us: a common chest and a wall stopping us from going to the objective. So it was back to square one. After 15 minutes, we were able to climb our way out of that little hellhole and finish the prison. Now we can take on
the almighty Raiden Shogun.
As I learned in the Lisa only challenge, this first fight is just a battle of endurance. All we have to do is wait around 3 minutes and we win, which is exactly what happened. After the Shogun fight, we began to make our way over to the Resistance. Yeah, Kirara might be able to make that.
Whoops.
Huh? Why? Why? At the camp, we get to do the archery demonstration, which, for the first time since the Amber Only challenge, I did not have to worry about doing. Look what happens when I don't have to deal with bullshit, chat. You see that? Look what happens when I don't have to deal with bull. We then head over to the abandoned ship to take on Sara's best men, who didn't stand a chance against us because they weren't following the double shield meta, which concludes Act 2. Oh wait, so many wishes? 4-star, chat? 4-star? It's gonna be a weapon, I'm not surprised. Oh. Yes! Gleeful songs! Yes! For Act 3, we make our way over to Watatsumi Island to talk to Kokomi. She then tells us to leave and do a puzzle for her, which we did thanks to Lisa. After that, we get to the moment that we've all been waiting for. Watching Teppei die. Following that joyous occasion, we get to do the Delusion Factory. Going into this domain, I didn't think we were going to have much of a problem. Our team didn't have much synergy, but it did have type coverage, so I knew that the enemies were not going to be much of an issue. The problem with this domain did not come from the enemies, but rather the elevator section. We could reach the first and second elevator no problem, but the third one was the worry. Kirara couldn't jump over there, we couldn't afford to glide there, and we couldn't place our rocks on the walls or the platforms because it would get destroyed. But then I looked at chat and someone suggested the idea of placing the rocks on the gears. So I gave it a shot and it worked, kinda. The rocks went on the chains next to the gears, not the gears themselves, which did allow us to cross over and obtain the last symbol. And because of that chatter, we were able to finish the rest of the domain without using stamina. Next up was the anti-Shogun training. Someone in chat was begging me to do the hard version of this challenge, so I did, and after 3 fails, I said nah. Since we can't dodge, all we could do was walk around in a circle and sometimes use Kirara. I say sometimes because Kirara's dog card gives us a shield, and if the attacks hit the shield, that counts as a mark. After only managing to get hit 7 times, we complete the next part of the training and go over to the statue to do some stealth. Once you set off the fireworks, you're supposed to glide over to the tea house using the wind currents. But we, can't do that. So we had to slowly walk our way across the bridge and hide behind some houses to reach the tea house. Easy. Oh no. Are you kidding? After that stealth section, we help Sara massacre her own bloodline, which means we get to meet the best NPC in the entire game.
None can contend with the supreme power of the almighty Raiden Shogun and the Muso no Hitotachi.
With that done, it was time for the hardest part of Inazuma, Senora. Senora was problematic for 2 reasons. Number 1 being the weather, and number 2 being our lack of mobility. We basically have to hug the corners of the room while also trying our best to dodge her attacks, which can be very dangerous because if we get hit by 1 cryo attack, we get slowed down even more. And that was just for phase 1. Actually, I'm gonna restart it. For phase 2, we needed to play a lot more aggressive. We still had to play around the corners of the room, but we needed to try and hit her from the back, because that's her biggest weakness. She can't consistently hit behind her, so if we just stick to her side, wait for the whip move, and go behind her. We just kept doing that over and over again, and eventually it got us the win. Easy, chat. Now, all that's left in Inazuma is
the almighty Raiden Shogun and the Muso no Hitotachi.
And if you want to know how seriously we took this fight, just look at these clips. I'm gonna get hit by that, but it's okay. I'm just better. Fuck off. Just throw an egg on her. There is nothing to worry about in this fight, really, especially when you get the buff. That ladder from earlier put up much more of a fight than the Shogun. After just a couple of minutes, we beat
the almighty Raiden Shogun,
and we were done with Inazuma. But before we can get to Sumeru, we have a chasm to go through. After getting creative with some of the pillars and slowly making our way down the chasm, we reach the Dainsleif quest. And let me just show this chat message again. I don't know what it is about Dainsleif and his quest, but it requires a lot more parkour than I thought. Our first obstacle was the second jump. Yes, the second jump was a problem for us. We tried for a very long time to get this jump, and a couple of times we kinda had it because Kirara mantled some of the rocks. But both me and Chad agreed that they didn't count, so it was back to the teleport waypoint. After 30 minutes, we were able to jump over the little gap with Kirara. We got it. Woo! But we're still not done yet. There's still more fun to have. Imagine that ladder section in Inazuma, but the ground is a bottomless pit. That's essentially what this part was. But I'm a creature. I adapt, and I learned. No! And because of my innate abilities, we were able to climb up this pit in just 14 minutes, which is still longer than I would have liked it to have been, but it was still a lot shorter than all of the other parkour I had to do earlier. After spectating full day in Sacrifice, we get to a part that could have been really annoying for us. Keyword there being could. In this next section, what we have to do is destroy 4 batteries. The good thing about these batteries is that they leave portals for us to use, which saves us from having to do parkour. Our strategy for dealing with these batteries was to get it low and use Baron Bunny as we take the teleport so we don't have to rock climb. Okay, that's huge. That's actually huge. This worked for all of them except for one because I destroyed the battery before swapping to Baron Bunny. With those batteries finished, we are officially done with the Chasm, which means it's time for the AR-35 domain. Just like the AR-25 domain, we didn't really have any problems. But this time, we did include a Diona. I told you she would be useful later on. After doing the 2 required gliding sections, we reached the swimming section again. The goal here was to land on the bottom platform with Diona, use a cryo arrow to create ice on the water, and once that ice is made, we jump and swap to Kaya to start our ice bridge. And we missed. We did fail a couple of times, but eventually we did land the jump with Kaya and ice bridged our way across to fight Aleph once again. And once again, it did not stand a chance. We're going to Sumeru! Woo! 4-star chat, watch it be our Sayu. Watch we get our Sayu on the last one. We got official. Okay. Believe it or not, Sumeru was the easiest part of this challenge, mainly because of these. These web slingers are a godsend. To start off Sumeru, we clear out the withering zone and web sling through the tree domain. After that, we go over to Sumeru City and obtain our AirPods. With our new AirPods, we walk all the way over to Port Ormos to flex on Alhaitham. Alhaitham then tells us that he actually has the newest version of the AirPods that are exclusive to Apple employees, which makes us sad, so we walk over to Dory. Dory offers us a new pair of AirPods, so we buy them. We then try to flex on Alhaitham again, but he informs us that those AirPods are fake, which means we got Doried. But to make it up to us, Alhaitham takes us to a fight club, and that ends Act 1. Now we can begin Act 2. Here we go, chat. Get ready for the 10 pull. Do we get a 5-star, chat? Do we get a 5-star? Oh, we do! Are we gonna win the 50-50, chat? Oh, no! We lost a 50-50. And that ends Act 2. For Act 3, we fight some bandits and make our way into the desert. Inside the desert, we fight off some of my brothers, and that's the end of Act 3. For Act 4, we head over to the hospital with Alhaitham. After fighting some biggie churls, we activated the dendro pillars with Kirara and went further into the desert to enter the pyramid. After going back to the entrance because I forgot that we had to meet up first. Inside of the pyramid was probably the most chill domain we ever had to go through in this playthrough. Everything went right in this place. No gliding, no climbing, no disappearing platforms. It was just nice. Once we finished that pleasant experience, it was time for Act 5 of Sumeru.
Whoops.
Oh, I sprinted, didn't I? Oh, I wasn't paying attention. We fight some bandits in the desert, make our way into Party City and fight some Fatui agents, and now there were only 3 things left, stopping us from completing this challenge. The first thing is the domain before Scaramouche. We are running Noelle, GeoMJ, Kaya, and a level 1 Fischl because someone in chat really wanted me to use Fischl. This domain was probably the most interesting thing in Sumeru, to be honest, because it actually required us to do some parkour. Was it difficult parkour? Compared to what we did before, absolutely not. But it did require me to think a little, which is something that I basically haven't done since we started Sumeru. After 23 minutes, we finished the domain and there were only 2 things left. For Scaramouche's fight, we did not worry at all in the first phase, since it's impossible to die in this part. So we decided to watch an episode of Bluey as the fight was going on. Naida just got stabbed. We're watching cartoon dogs swim in a pool. Once the actual fight started, it was nothing special. We have this thing, so it's basically impossible for us to lose. But as the fight concludes, we have one last obstacle left, the polluted area. We take out some hilly churls, and web sling across. We kill some brethren, then web sling again. We kill some more hilly churls, and one last time, we web sling across to defeat some biggie churls. Following that boat ride, we teleported to the waypoint closest to Nahida and began our journey to the finish line. We swapped over to Michael Jordan, the man who made this challenge possible for us. And as we set our characters to walk, we began to play Drifting Soul and began our ascent. It took us so long. After all of the struggles, after all of the big brain strategies, and after all of the rock parkour, we did it. Act 5 complete! Booyah, baby! Boom! Woo! After 45 hours, 50 minutes, and 27 seconds, we beat Genshin Impact without using stamina. This challenge was real, and sometimes it was fun, but it was not real fun. This was by far the hardest challenge. Do not attempt this unless you are doing it with Wanderer. I'm serious, do not do this. But this challenge still isn't over yet. We've got to do Fontaine and the other nations when they come out. But while we wait for the other nations, there's still something else that I have to catch up with.
Whoops.
Tell me why